Do anyways. Yeah, he's here in the building.
Well, yeah, I'm
But
just
do we
saying.
see Don?
More tomatoes.
Mr. Wood,
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Bradenton City Council meeting, Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. This time, I'd like to call Pastor Don Steriano with Kingdom Life Christian Church forward to do our invocation, and then we'll do the pledge. Please stand.
Good morning, everyone. As we're recognizing Police Week, this prayer is dedicated to all law enforcement officers. Would you bow your heads? Father of heaven and earth, I lift up our valiant law enforcement officers before you now. I ask that you and all of heaven would take notice and honor this prayer for these who have vowed and dedicated their lives to serve and protect the children on the earth who you so dearly love. I pray that your mighty hand and outstretched arm would go before them in the battle for justice, anointing them as your ambassadors of divine order, so to foil the deeds of those who plot evil. I ask of you, Holy Spirit, to envelop each of them with the peace of Christ that transcends understanding, guiding them with the wisdom of Solomon as they guard the citizens of our nation. Grant them the courage and strength of King David to defeat the Goliaths of wrongdoing, and impart in them the loving kindness as David the shepherd, to serve with compassion and a gentle hand, discerning when to be as a lion and when to be as a lamb. May they serve with the heart of a king and lead with the heart of a servant. And as they continue to be deployed on their assignments, I declare Isaiah 54:17 over them all, that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment shall be condemned. I pray that you would grant an overwhelming peace to their loved ones, reminding every mother and father, wife and husband, son and daughter, that you, the creator of the universe, has them all in his mighty hand. And now I thank you, Father, for those who have paid the ultimate price of laying down their life, willingly placing themselves in harm's way while standing watch against the deeds of darkness. I pray continued comfort for the loved ones who remain. I pray this all in the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Can we ask all of our veteran police officers to come forward? I know we've got some out there. Military veterans. Yeah, I know there's one. I know we had one. I don't know in the other military. Yeah, you served in the military. Yeah. And if you can lead us in the pledge.
They were scared.
yeah.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and sorry to put you on the spot. I know, I'm thinking, okay, Brian's not.
They face battle, but they don't want to face.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. And welcome, everyone. Madam Clerk.
The first item on the agenda this morning is a proclamation for Police Week and Peace Officers Memorial Day.
Thank you.
I believe Vice Mayor Kramer will read it this morning.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Did you want to go up to the podium and read it?
Sure.
Former Deputy Chief and Assistant Chief, Deputy. Assistant Chief, terminology is everything. Assistant Chief Josh Kramer, now Vice Mayor Kramer, will read.
Thank you, Josh Kramer, Vice Mayor. Proclamation by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Bradenton, I do hereby issue this proclamation honoring Police Week, May 11th through 17th, 2025, and Peace Officers Memorial Day, May 15th, 2025. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which it falls as Police Week. And whereas the members of Florida law enforcement agencies play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of our citizens. And whereas it is essential that all Florida citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their unwavering commitment to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. Whereas it is appropriate to commemorate police officers past and present who have dedicated their service to their communities and demonstrated utmost courage in preserving the rights and security of all citizens. And whereas on May 15th, we honor all peace officers who, through their courageous deeds, have lost their lives or have become disabled in the performance of duties. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Gene Brown, as mayor of the city of Bradenton, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2025 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and May 11th through 17th, 2025 as Police Week, and encourage all citizens to participate in activities honoring our police and peace officers. Signed, Gene Brown, Mayor.
And do we have anybody here today to accept it?
I think we do.
Everybody can come forward.
Absolutely. While everybody's coming down, thank you, Vice Mayor Kramer. I know this is April. It's still a little early, but we wanted to kind of get a jump on it just because of the timing of our council meetings to make sure that throughout the whole month, people in this community recognize why you'll see our officers wearing a band across their badges. By the grace of God, we haven't experienced any tragedy when it comes to our men and women who serve in this agency, but it's a time when we recognize that others in the United States, and we're trending upwards again, unfortunately, have lost their lives in the line of duty. We wear that badge and we commemorate this month, not celebrate it, but commemorate this month as a show of solidarity with them and to remind everybody that that thin blue line, the thin blue line that we wear across the badge during the entire month is what separates chaos from a well-functioning, performing society, and we're the ones right in the middle. We are blessed within this city to have such an incredibly supportive council, an incredibly supportive city staff, residents. We know, and I think everybody here will agree, we know this city loves us. We know you all love us. We know you support us, and we are blessed that we can all just stand here together with you and are thankful for all the support that we get. I will tell you that it's just been the experience of a lifetime to be able to serve alongside everybody in this room, not just the sworn, but the civilians, everybody. We are all one team, and together we succeed, and it's just been the incredible opportunity of a lifetime.
Thank you. Comments before I do? All right, I just want to say a couple things. Obviously, in my position as mayor for the last 5 years, one of the things was most important to me, and sitting on the council for 7.5 years, was going through different things of pay and all of that, and it was always said that we were one of the lowest paying, you know, and even though you never can be the highest paying, but we were able to do that with the support of this council financially to get the increase, almost 30+% for our starting pay, which articulated up for the rest. Are we ever happy where we are? Maybe not, but are we at least getting better? And that's something that I think helps keep a force, and I think we are keeping them now as we're sending them to the academy and paying for that through our Bradenton Blues in different ways. So we just appreciate what your administration has done from top down to really make it a better place and work together. And what we're going through right now, it I don't think has officially been announced, but it's out there. But with you retiring the end of July, and I have interviewed 4 in-house candidates, and I'll be making that decision towards the end of May. And all 4 of them, I think, are in the room. Yeah, Jeremy's back there too. So all 4 of them are in the room. which is going to be a very, 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 very tough decision that I will make and bring to this council the end of May. But just to say, on Police Week coming up in May, we appreciate what your 9+ years have done here and got us to that next level, you know, and I really appreciate that, and I think the citizens of Bradenton appreciate it, and the 20+ people that I met with in the department before I did my 4 interviews with the in-house staff was so appreciative of where we are and what we're doing, and the morale, you know, is off the charts is what they were telling me. And I interviewed from 1 year to 9 years to 19 years to retired and came back, and everybody said we were in a good place, and that's because of leadership, and it starts right at with the chief of police. So thank you for that, and let's have a good last police week for you in a good way. So thank you.
These guys all that I walked down the hall, they're all trying to trip me and do all kinds of stuff, right? I have 88 more days, so just.
How many more Sundays?
You're the one who counted those. Thank you all.
So, all right, thank you. Well, let's get a picture. Everybody come up here and we'll gather behind you.
Now I can't see.
The biggest guy jumps in front. Turn sideways, lean back on your back foot. Hey, squeeze in.
Oh, you're right there. Oh, Chuck.
Shorter people up front, so Josh.
Are you seeing?
Starting to get a stool. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Kind. Thank you, thank you.
This chair leans a little bit. You get it the wrong way.
Has to be just right.
Yep.
Well, you thought it was what?
Does it lean left or right?
Yeah. We're going to Tallahassee.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Vice Mayor, Assistant Chief Kramer, retired. RET. You didn't have RET yet. Madam Clerk.
There are not any presentations scheduled this morning.
Okay, and so we're at that point in the meeting where we have citizen comment. And I'll read our traditional citizen comment will be accepted during the citizen comment portion of the meeting on any non-agenda item, agenda item, future agenda item, or topic of relevance to the city. Comments will be accepted on public hearings at the appropriate time. And as we say, it's very important that, you know, you have 3 minutes, state your name, your city of residence, and it is a topic of the city of Bradenton. And that's going to be important to remember. And I think, you know, as we've said lately, please address, we respect you, please respect this council and address them, you know, with the proper Mr. or Mrs. or council person and not by first name. So the first agenda item is we have our good old friend Glenn Gibolina. Please come forward. Please state your name and city of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes. And it would be topic of relevance to the city. Right, and that's one thing that that's the CRA. This is not the CRA meeting. This is.
No, I'm talking about it, though.
Right,
Okay. For the record, Glenn Gibolina. So, I did have an opportunity to read this into the record at the CR meeting last week. I'm not going to do this today. I just do want to talk about policy and procedures on, you know, let's get healthy again. Let's make our communities healthy. So, you know, I'm an advocate about affordable housing. And at the Pat Glass Awards, I talked about infill lots. I have a passion for affordable housing. I think we're missing a lot of opportunity here. When we have an infill lot, and that's not being utilized in a timely manner. So I think we need some corrections in moving that direction. You know, I look at this lot that has been on the CRA for 18 years. Now, it's vacant, it's been sitting vacant, and it's not helping anyone, right? These people are starving for affordable rents, housing, and this lot sits vacant for this period of time. I just think we need to set some guardrails up to say, hey, every 3 years, let's do a check. What are we doing with this? For this property to sit for this long, benefiting no one, is really a travesty. And I think that the proposal that came forward is the adjoining property. So it's a logical deduction that if anybody was going to build there, give them the small piece of property, let them develop it up into affordable rentals. Mr. Keaton has a great idea. He brought some renderings. It looks fantastic. I just think that we got to stop kicking this can down the road. I mean, that's a marginal community to begin with. So let's bring it up. Every vacant lot, not only in the county, but in the city, should be approached as an opportunity instead of a detriment in degrading the neighborhood. 18 years, this lot is vacant. Now there's trash on it, there's vagrants hanging out, and you're devaluating an already marginalized community. And I just think that we can take a different approach and say, you know what, let's get this off the tax rolls. For 18 years, you have not collected one thin dime of tax revenues that you could have. So not only you marginalize the community by leaving it vacant and not even maintaining it, but you could just, when a guy like this comes forward and said, I got a great opportunity, man, please do it. And Councilwoman Coachman, you should take the lead on this mission, and I hope you will.
Thank you, Mr. Giubilina. Next, we have Linda Seabold. Please come forward, state your name, your city of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning. I
Morning.
just want to fulfill my shared responsibility here with the lift stations in Ward 4. And I want to just find out, and there may not be any updates on lift station number 3, our collection system, and also I'm adding to it the check valves and seawall for Ward 4. Lift station 13 is still functioning and it's still there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have Ron Nuremberg. Please come forward, state your name, your city of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning. I'm Ron Nurnberger. I'm a Bradenton resident, and I'm also president of the Bradenton Shuffleboard Club at 1525 Ballard Park Drive. I'm also the past president of the Southwest Coast District that runs from Venice to the south to St. Petersburg to the north. There are 7 shuffleboard districts in the state. The Bradenton Club is home for the Southwest Coast District, the second largest in the state. As you know, I have met twice with Mayor Brown and City Administrator Rob Perry, along with Jeff Burton and Lance Williams, regarding the future closing of the Bradenton Shuffleboard Club. I am simply here today to follow up on the packet of information I dropped off for council members Monday and or answer any questions you may have. It earmarks the huge support our club has received regarding the value of a comparable replacement facility in Manatee County. You can see from the letters and signatures that the support for the Bradenton Shuffleboard Club runs statewide. Shuffleboard in Bradenton in the state of Florida has been an institution and staple for over 100 years. Shuffleboard is played in many nations throughout the world. The Bradenton Club is one of the largest in Florida. We also house the Shuffleboard store, selling all shuffleboard park and player supplies in West Florida. We are the location for the century-old history room and home for the Southwest Coast District Hall of Fame. Shuffleboard will continue to be a desired activity. If the city of Bradenton and Manatee County are to continue to offer the best recreational opportunities to current and future residents, then it needs to include the sport of shuffleboard. I would like to just reiterate the value of shuffleboard facility in the county. One, it gives residents another social activity to create friendships with others. Two, it provides for a more competitive play for those who are looking for that venue. And three, it is a less physical demanding activity for all ages. Shuffleboard activities can be organized in many venues such as fun shuffles, competitive leagues for men, ladies, couples, and families, similar to golf, bowling, pickleball, and tennis, as well as hosting the national, state, and district shuffleboard tournaments as the Bradenton Club has for many years. Our concern is that we have a seamless transition from the closing of the Bradenton Club to the opening at another site. We wish to avoid a gap in time from the end of one to the beginning of the other. In closing, our hope is the City Council, along with the Bradenton Club and the County Recreation Parks Department, can continue to work together and find an adequate replacement facility. I also offer my services to be part of that planning committee. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, I have no other citizen comment at this time. I will start out and talk about the shuffleboard. It was an opportunity to try to help, because we are not, as was just stated, and I don't think it was meant to be stated that way, that we are not closing the Bradenton Shuffleboard Association. That's their association. All we're doing is trying to find a better use of land that can help more people while giving opportunity to find shuffleboard merging maybe in with others. And I did get a letter sooner from another association president and talked with her and gave her an update on some of the stuff there, because we had probably hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage during the hurricanes to the shuffleboard association there, the facilities. And as we know, the city of Bradenton doesn't have a parks department. So, you know, it's the city of, or we have a great GT Bray Park in the city of Bradenton that is run by Manatee County. And I have been talking with the administration of Manatee County, and when we brought the CRA in on it, there was opportunity to maybe work and make the Shuffleboard Association better in the long term, because the lease is up in '28. And one of the things that we thought is, how do we hit this head on first? Because it's not, when the lease was up, if this council voted to just not renew the lease, then you're out the window. So this was not anything, and there's been some information put out there that was confusing maybe, and Ron and his group has always supported the conversation, because let's start a conversation first, then go and see where we can help. Because I think, we all know, and some of us more than others, that shuffleboard does not carry as many people as it used to in some of the tournaments. There's big tournaments around here at Trailer Estates, in Palmetto, at Bradenton. So we've really got to look at the good of the whole of Manatee County. And there is shuffleboard courts at GT Bray. So I did find that out, that, we have to work on the opportunity. And I did talk with County Administrator Bishop, and they are looking into it as well to do a collaborative, and I think it'll be a win-win long-term, and it'll help clean up an area that's no fault of the shuffleboard, but it's an area that if this city does not clean up, and drive by that 7-Eleven every day and see what you see. And again, it's not the fault of the shuffleboard, but it's an area we have. Sir, I'm sorry, sir, we can't have from the audience. So, all right, any other comments or concerns or questions on anything was said? Yes, ma'am.
I was going to save this for my council comments, but in case Ms. Siebel has to leave the meeting, I'll just say now that I was pleased to hear from Mr. Williams that there is a team dedicated to the project that I'm sort of just calling the expansion, Lift Station 3 expansion / replacement of collection system. And that includes communications and
and some technology, I think, in regards to how we create information and push it out to the public. That team is, I understand, going to be meeting regularly, and I've asked to participate in those meetings so that I don't have to go through the process of being asked a question and then going back and getting information and then coming back to relay it. I'd rather just be able to knock out questions as they come, and they already have. So, and not just within the 170 that were affected, but I received responses after our last meeting and my council update from people in River Isles and Braden Castle Park as well. So it's definitely on other people's radar, I think, because of the magnitude of the project. And I want to reassure people that information will be coming forth and that we're going to address questions, and I'll be ready to do that.
Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Perry.
I appreciate the whole subject,
Microphone.
the subject regarding Lift Station 13. I think we all know that this is a monumental project, perhaps the largest project that the city has taken on for their water utility as it relates to rebuilding a system where there's 170 private landowners involved. There is an estimated time with this. It's a long-term project, and it's a phased project. And that information is important, but patience is going to be important too. And the accuracy of that information is going to be important. And the way that we're able to gain public confidence is to provide that information out, but that it is going to be a step-by-step project. It will require dealing with 170 different homeowners, legal implications to doing that. It will also deal with the design and fabrication and construction of a major lift station for transport and transportation of probably millions of gallons of storage water. It will involve digging up a lot of public roadways and putting into the right-of-way transmission and collection systems for that. And so I don't want anybody thinking that this is going to be an easy project. These types of projects don't go without hiccups. And I hope that we're all capable of being patient on it and understanding that before the administration goes off with some knee-jerk comment, or someone else does that, that it probably wouldn't benefit the project. That's been my experience with something that this monumental magnitude. And so hopefully we'll be able to take it slow and steady, and we don't necessarily guarantee that we're going to be able to do this fast, but we're very hopeful that we'll be able to do it right.
May I?
Sure.
I totally agree, and it's actually the monumental aspect of the project is why I think real-time updates are so important for the public. My experience has been talking to people that have asked me questions is they 100% understand. When you explain what is involved, they understand how huge, and actually I think that they appreciate the ambition. I think that even if you're not in Ward 4 of the 170, just because people want us to face it and fix it, they are happy that we're moving forward with something of this magnitude. And I think that we shouldn't, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but I don't want to underestimate people who are inquiring and their ability to understand that real-time information means that it's going to change, that it's just too big of a thing for it not to. But I really think it's going to be important given the scope and the scale that and I think that we're planning to do that, which is why I was pleased to, that's why I was going to mention it in my ward comments, because I know that already Ms. Shadiq and Mr. Myers are working on really, I think, more advanced, at least more advanced than me, and social media posting technology to really make sure that people can gain the information if they're curious about the project and where it's at.
All right, thank you. And a couple things, I think, as Mr. Perry said, patience is going to be important, as we know that there's a lot of things in this community that people put out as propaganda, newspapers, different things that, not about this project, but other things going on. But one of the things that, and Mr. Perry brought it up, that came to me from somebody in that neighborhood, and they asked me, they said, is this going to be the private laterals for homesteaded properties, and how will rental properties and different things that people make money on, is the citizens gonna have to pay for that too? So I just get a question, so I said, I don't know, I'll bring it up when it's in the public, because I think that's a good question. So how are we gonna answer that? What are we gonna do? I think it's gonna be important that emotion is taken out of this. So that's gonna be very individually, because all of us up here, except for maybe one or two, aren't as emotional as others. No pun intended. So.
I get it.
Well, I'm just kidding. But from a standpoint of emotion, we've got to take that out of it. And we've got to get the project done as quickly as possible. And it's some things that we're already looking at that will come up to this council pretty quick, that are going to have to make a decision how we can make this project even move quicker and financially probably more feasible long-term to get it done. So those things are worked every day, and it's something that Mr. Williams, Mr. Perry, and staff are doing a great job. But until the time is right, it's got to come up, and it'll come before a vote on this council. All right, thank you. Moving on, Madam Clerk.
Item 6 is the consent agenda, and just a reminder that item D was pulled
Yes.
for the meeting. So staff is requesting approval of items A through C and E through J.
Mr. Perry.
I've had the opportunity to speak with most of the counselors, and I think Mr. Williams has spoken with the one that I haven't, and I apologize for that. We just had a little bit of a communications connection issue, but been able to address any questions that were related to any of these matters. The vast majority of them deal with different types of service and supply contracts for the city.
All right, Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve consent agenda items A through C and E through J.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 3.
Yes.
4.
Yes.
5.
Yes.
1.
Yes.
2.
Yes.
Approved 5-0. Madam Clerk.
Item 7 is the second public hearing for Resolution 2548.
All right. Mr. Burton.
Jeff Burton, CRA Director. This is the second public hearing to designate property on 14th Street that the CRA is selling as a brownfield site. It had a kerosene tank on it, and it's a minor brownfield site, which is fine, but it also adds some economic benefit to the development. So we'd appreciate approval of the second public hearing designating the site as a brownfield. Thank you.
Any questions from council? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Move to approve Resolution 2548.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Kramer and a second by Ms. Coachman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 4.
Yes.
5.
Yes.
1.
Yes.
2.
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Approved 5-0. Madam Clerk.
Item 8A is the emergency procurement report.
Mr. Perry or Mr. Williams.
Mr. Mayor?
As council knows, I present the updated emergency procurements that are done pursuant to the storm events of last season, and I'll get to that in a second. There was only, I believe, two, okay. Can you get me those copies? know you put them in the package, but I can't seem to find them. But I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about the storm season itself and some of the efforts and the ongoing activities related to the storm season, because we had our last closeout Haggerty under the emergency contract, and Haggerty is our FEMA consultant that was brought on an emergency basis to be really a documentation and reimbursement expert. They have the expertise. They work for the county. They work for a lot of other larger entities, and we were able to get Amber Guy as our principal in doing that. And so we did our last phone call that we do weekly on that, and I want to thank some of the folks in the city that have been able to participate in that, between Corey, representing the administration, David Lindsay over at Public Works, and some of the work you don't see being done is phenomenal. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. I think you're going to be fairly impressed. Rebecca Desch from Fire, Jeremy Gittens from PD, Heidi and her team from Finance. But I asked Amber to put together something that would kind of give you some idea about what we had been doing ever since the storms. And to start with the Category A recovery, that's the easiest to get. It's Category A through G that FEMA reimburses. Two of those categories, A and B, one is debris removal, the other one is what's called protective measures, and they're expedited projects typically. So you get reimbursed, and there's very significant cost associated with that between Cirrus and is it
DRC.
DRC is our other contractor. You're talking about, I think it was probably close to $6 million. It may have been even slightly more than that in debris removal. And of course, our folks did debris removal as well. But as it relates to debris removal in Category A, we removed 144,000 cubic yards of dead.
Can you get a little closer to the microphone, or pull the microphone toward you?
Sure, you bet. And that's equivalent to 27 football fields that are basically 100 by 50 yards, one yard deep. Other comparisons, 58 Olympic swimming pools. The construction debris itself, basically 14,000.5 cubic yards of construction debris. That's equivalent to 111 fully loaded 18-wheelers. And so we pulled out a lot of debris. 1,243 hazardous limbs that were hanging and removed throughout the city, in order to protect public safety and property, and a whole host of other things. As it relates to the reimbursement, as an expedited project, we're eligible for a 50% immediate payment, which we have received. Mr. Williams and our finance team have processed that 50% payment. For the other 50%, usually that's fairly quick thereafter because they're based on contracts. But remember, the city had to pay these bills. And so you have a cash flow issue there from a finance perspective. But we have recovered the 50%. Typically, the recovery on that is going to be, I believe, 80%. The state puts in 12.5, and so we end up about 10%. But this was 100% recovery because of the nature and severity of the storms. And so we should be fully reimbursed for those costs associated with it. There's also things to look at as far as our staff and what we had to do as far as what's called emergency work. And that's the city's public works department and staff. They recorded more than 6,300 hours of emergency work in the days that immediately before and after Hurricanes Helene and Milton itself. And the city and Mr. Lindsay, working with the entities involved, whether it's PD and Jeremy and Fire and our staff and a host of other folks, had to basically take all them FROC forms, that's what we use now, and try to basically gather them and put them into categories that have very specific requirements by FEMA for reimbursement. And that's what Haggerty helps us out with. And I can tell you that in a 40-hour week, Mr. Lindsay probably spent 50 hours doing these spreadsheets, continuously submitting to Haggerty. And they have to also look at mechanisms, because Haggerty knows that if you don't have these documents, then you can substitute 2 or 3 other types of supporting documents that you have. So we've looked at different ways to meet the FEMA requirements. They're fairly tedious, they change very often, and they're rather onerous in their own undertaking. But we had basically 6,000 hours of emergency work that we paid employees, and most of them were probably at premium time that we want to be reimbursed for. So we constantly trying to put that package together. The FEMA project management itself, the FEMA approved the city's request to consolidate damages into 17 logically grouped categories of damages, basically. And so that, again, is being done in conjunction, most of it with Public Works and Haggerty, and putting the paperwork together for FEMA. We've declared 36 different city facilities as receiving compensable damage, and they will be subject to site inspections where FEMA actually dispatches people to come to the city of Bradenton and look at those facilities in order to verify the paperwork and condition physically of all that work. And so there's a lot that goes into that, and even, you know, now that we're basically 6 months outside of the storm's hitting, 6 to 7 months outside of the storm hitting, there's still a lot of work that's going into it, and there will continue to be. I just want you guys to know that out of sight isn't out of mind on this one. And I'm really proud of the bandwidth and sophistication of our staff and your support for them in order to continue. I don't think that, you know, the city had been hit with this type of storm for quite some time, and it takes I think it's pretty much zero.
3 storms.
Yeah. But I don't think that typically we had the bandwidth to do that, and Haggerty helped a lot, and our folks have stepped up a lot, and we've learned a lot, and we'll be better next time for it. Hopefully there won't be a next time, at least with the severity of this particular storm season. So I wanted to talk about that. I'll close that subject out with saying that we are doing a training that Mr. Lindsay and Haggerty and Ms. Guy are putting together for all of our public works staff, and there'll be some other folks there as well, to even get better at processing that paperwork, for being prepared to basically do the documentation in accordance with FEMA or FDEM standards. It's, again, tedious, onerous, and very detailed. And if you haven't done it before, or you don't do it regularly, it's pretty easy stuff to mess up because of the requirements of it. I mean, it's interesting when you think about what we did, and the mayor in particular out on the east side and down into Ward 4 and even some of the other wards. And FEMA's saying, well, we want to know that you picked up something and it wasn't on somebody else's private property, because they would be responsible for that. It has to be in the right of way, and you have to have a legal obligation to do it. So what does that mean for documentation? Well, it means what it means. We'd like to see some documentary evidence, either written coordinates, which are GIS, other types of written documentation, photographs and the like. Well, when you're in the throw of battle, at least personally when I was down there doing it, you don't have time to do that. I mean, you're basically taking people's lives out of their front yard, moving on to the next yard, trying to get 600, 700 houses just on the east side alone cleaned up that were flooded so that the next hurricane doesn't hit them. It's somewhat impractical, in my opinion, to have to document to that level of detail. I understand from an internal control perspective why it would be wanted, but we're constantly playing that type of situation on some of the work that we've done. And surely when you use the term protective measure, I can't think anything that would be more of a protective measure than clearing that debris when you know another storm with a potential wind field and storm surge could come wipe out the same area. So, you know, both operationally as well as administratively, the city did a good job, in my opinion. And by and large, the recovery and reimbursement efforts are going well. As it relates to the emergency, thank you for the documentation. As it relates to emergency purchases, we had two emergency purchases, basically. One was for a facility, which is the admin building, AC units itself, air and mechanical systems that were damaged, impacted from the storm. About $30,000 in repair for that.
We're gonna need
and a
to
minor
zoom that in
repair
on that, sir.
You can zoom it or use it.
to the Forever Lawn. Oh yeah, I forgot. This is the.
Visual for me.
That, and I'm not sure that they're getting you clearly because you had your head under the microphone.
Thank you, Tamara.
You never know.
Those two items basically come through Public Works, Mr. Peterson, with landscape grounds, obviously, for the Forever Lawn. And if you have been over to Rossi, that's all been repaired now. I just happened to run over there yesterday and just kind of took a quick look, and all of the 4 different pad areas have been restored. And
What about the Forever Lawn at Lewis Park?
I haven't checked on that one yet. I know some of it had been replaced. I'll have to check on that for you. I think it had all been replaced.
But it's been the pieces that we looked at the other
Repaired, I
day.
should say, not replaced.
Right. Yeah, some of it's been repaired, and then we have a quote into the vendor's supposed to give us a quote to finish up the repairs. So you will see that coming in the near future.
Super.
Yep.
Thank you.
And as we talk about Rossi, as an aside, that 6-foot fence will be coming down to the 4th foot. At
Lewis.
Yeah, at Lewis, I'm sorry, yep. That will be happening, I think, within probably a month or so. Yeah, we had back and forth with the contractor and suppliers for the materials. We're gonna be redeploying that fence that's available over to Fire Station 2. So that's some good news too.
Fire Station 1.
Fire Station 1 is it going?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're reusing it, so it's going somewhere.
It's going somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna repurpose it and then also use some of it in our upcoming butterfly garden as well.
That's right, yep. So that is related to, obviously, recovery efforts. I wanted to just bring to your attention the recommendation and appointment of, let me zoom up.
Good.
Of Heidi Were Monday, basically to be the finance director. Heidi's been with us about probably close to 3 years, and she has been a CPA that's gone through several audits for us successfully. No reportable conditions, no findings, unqualified opinions as it relates to the accuracy, transparency, and compliance with GASB within our annual audit. And that's a pretty significant undertaking for Heidi and her team. She's done a great job after Mr. Kelly coming in and making the transition to local government accounting, which is fund accounting basically. And so Mr. Williams and myself felt very comfortable in promoting Heidi to finance director from assistant director, basically, is the situation. And to that extent, there is obviously a commensurate salary increase, but we don't need to hire a new position. They do a pretty good job on a fairly streamlined staff in our finance department, and done a really good job with that. And so I wanted to bring that to your attention. Mr. Williams, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, and like Mr. Perry said, Ms. Warner Monday's done a phenomenal job with our finance team. She works very well with Linda, who's been here for, quite some time. We all know the two of them. But, you hear me talk countlessly about the hours, again, that you don't see. And I can tell you, just in the month of March, I think they both maybe had one day and one weekend off. All the rest of the entire month they worked. And they do that because they know that it's important for the city to have a good financial report, an accurate financial report. Obviously, they dealt with the 3 storms that we had this year and all the idiosyncrasies that come with that, finding some later invoices, just kind of really getting everything cleaned up to be able to hand over, to the state, to the Government Finance Officers Association, a very accurate and well put together act for our annual comprehensive financial report. So that's just one piece of the dedication that Ms. Warren Monday has and Linda has as well. But they're now, Heidi's at a point where she's leading the team in finance. I collaborate a little bit with her, but she's taken over the team. She's going to bring in some technology to help streamline some processes. She's looking to add some additional staff. She's really heading up the finance department, and we felt it was appropriate at this time to get, ask for the recommendation to be approved that Ms. Wardemonde be our finance director and continue to be dedicated to the city and do a phenomenal job.
Do you need us to take action?
Well,
on that,
no,
or
I
we
don't
just-
think
I
there
don't
needs
think
to
we
be
do.
any
I think
action
it's
because this
No.
isn't one of the positions that the council would hire or fire.
Correct.
That's my
Yeah,
understanding,
thanks.
but I wanted to bring it to your
Yeah,
attention.
You're
I
just
always
bringing
try-
it
I
up
always
as
try to do that.
they're doing it right, because again, we don't want to get into the point where that every time something happens, that the council has to hire and fire outside the charter.
Right.
Or to make it easier. That's what we hired you to do,
Yes, sir.
so.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to bring it to the attention, and, you know, Lance was talking a little bit about it. When you talk about the finance team is, a lot of what they do is going to be, you know, the accounting work done by the city with payables and receivables, and that's an ongoing thing that is ongoing, but then it's always nuances and new things within it. The investment portfolio that we have is significant. That's handled basically by finance and Mr. Williams and myself. As it relates to the debt service components that we own and the requirements of both servicing the debt and bond covenants and things that are related to that have to be complied with, certifications, and strange things that go on with that. That has to be handled. The budget, obviously, coming into budget season is done through the finance department as well. So there's a lot of different components that you all probably don't have to pay much attention to until there's a problem, right? And the thing is that there usually isn't a problem because of Heidi and her team over there. You know, they do a really good job. And again, this audit was on time. It was unqualified with no reportable conditions. Material deficiencies are the things that would be concerning to elected officials as well as high-level senior administrators, I would think.
So now we're gonna call Heidi up to give a nice long speech
Yeah.
because she loves being in front of the
You know how our team loves
microphone
public speaking.
instead of, welcome and congratulations.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I just want to say that I just want to thank you for your support, and I really appreciate your faith in my team. And we'll continue to put in our best effort and do the best that we can here for the city.
And keep that smile on your face.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi. Well, also under the agenda for item 8, new business, is the proposal for the city center garage retail space, and that is item B, which is the surf shop that is there currently. We got notice that they were not going to renew their lease, and so we look for possible tenants to replace that particular space. And we were told that there was some folks that were interested, and this particular tenant came forward. They had a successful location out on Anna Maria Island. They specialize in like coastal design types of home goods and accessories, and it's pretty cool. I think some of the stuff might be in the package. Yeah, I don't have the package with me right now, but it's the kind of place really that if you're looking for unique Bradenton artwork and accessory work for home decoration and accent pieces and things like that, that's the kind of store like that. I don't know, I kind of don't even, I'm not very artistic and things like that, but I like walking through. A lot of other folks that, you know, like keeping up their home with cool stuff do too. So I think it's going to be a nice complement to the city, basically.
So is that something we have to approve?
I think it'd probably be good if you did on this one with the
So-
motion of approval.
Would-
Yep.
Yes.
And Tamara's going to put this on there.
Yeah, those are requested motions.
Yeah.
That's just a graphic, obviously, of some of the materials that, the home goods that I referred to, accent pieces and accessories. Kind of cool looking stuff. Most of it's all locally sourced.
We have Councilwoman Coker and then Councilwoman Moore.
I'm excited for this. This looks like it'd be a great addition to downtown. Was there a discussion with them about making sure that they are open when we're having our events? I feel like I want them, I wish they were here because they're kind of our partner here. This is all about, you know, being partners in downtown and making successful events and having that retail component. I think they'll do well. But if they're open during events, I think it'll be.
Yeah, we're going to continue to, encourage that, especially a lot of the special events that we do, things of that nature. It's a tricky situation because they're probably going to be open when they believe the best hours and days to be open are, because that's what they want to do, is sell products. And at a certain point, they've got to sacrifice a little bit so they still stay open maybe when they don't think it's the prime time. But it's a balance. And to be honest with you, I've been flexible with them, and maybe I shouldn't be. But I think when you see people that are leaving, it's telling you that they can't sell enough product to be sustainable. And that's just probably the nature of the free market, right? Whether it's a restaurant or whatever. If you don't have a good product and good hours and good service, you're probably not going to be in business a long time.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
I've just, and I, you know, am not here to tell someone when to be open, but there have been many times when there were people all over downtown and all the shops would be closed. And I think they're getting a preferred rent. I mean, they're good. If not, if we're not going to ask them to support what we're doing down there, then we could just go to market rate.
Yeah, we could go to market rate, and I think I should address that because there's a lot of space, store frontage downtown, and NDC's building a lot of it. And the head of our planning department, Ben Baca, is probably the highest broker of having property downtown, and it's not easy. It's not easy for those guys to find tenants. So it's a balance between price and basically, market as far as what's available to come in. And so we don't want empty storefronts. And if you go to market and we had empty storefronts, any business and any economist would tell you that you've got something that people won't pay the the price. Lower the price and the demand goes up.
That's a debate that we can have.
Yeah, it surely is. Yeah.
Mr.
I just want to make a
Hold
statement.
on, we got
I'm sorry.
other people on the board.
Sorry.
Anything else, Ms. Coker?
No, that's
Ms.
good.
Moore, then Ms. Barnaby, and then Ms. Coachman.
I don't think you're wrong about the balance. When I talk to the current store owners, they tell me that it depends on the event. So some of the events that are maybe a little more daytime, family-friendly, people will actually buy things. If it's a little more of a party atmosphere, then people are less inclined to go into a shop to do that kind of thing. So I do think it's a balance. It's kind of a hard, it's kind of a nebulous thing to really pinpoint that when we really want them to be doing something. So I do think we have to give them some deference. But that actually wasn't going to be my question. My question was, I see that the cover page says that we're renewing, or we're not renewing, we're starting a new lease at the next level as if the tenant had renewed as far as the rental rate.
Correct.
But we don't actually have the lease, so am I safe to assume that the lease form is the same as the one that we previously approved, but just with the higher rental?
I believe it is. And each rent has an escalator every year. I think it's 3%. Is it 3%? 3%. The other thing is we try to go with the same term, Councilwoman Moore, so that when renewals come up, they all come up together and it's easier for us to administrate that way. And probably easier for you to make policy decisions about accepting them or not.
Ms. Barnaby?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Getting back and dovetailing into what Ms. Coker brought up, I think it's important that we make sure that the tenants in the garage know when these events are, because sometimes I don't think they know. And one of the reasons that it's not the only reason, but one of the reasons that we require people to turn in their event requests in a timely fashion is so that we can get it on our community calendars and get it out to people like Pink and Navy and people like Orange Blossom, because I agree with Ms. Coker. There's been many times that I've been down there and there's thousands of people and they're closed. And I'm like, did they not have the staff? Did they not schedule the staff? Did they not know that we had an event going on? So, I mean, I'm more than happy to check with both Ms. Kaiser and Ms. Thomas and make sure that we get, when we have a calendar of these events, that we get it to them, at least, 6 months at a time, so they can plan their schedules a little better.
I think that's a fair comment, and I think it is a communications issue to a certain extent. I want to think that, most of those folks know when we're going to have events, in most cases, but
you don't.
No, I might be assuming something I shouldn't be assuming. And so maybe from our communications team to get notice to the 5, storefronts that we have would be a good idea. Also, putting it on that billboard is probably a good idea, because I know we've had events that have not been advertised on probably one of the most graphically observed things down there, if you're in the area, that the billboard, the electronic digital billboard. So I'll talk with our communications team, and Lance and I and whoever else about that. Those are good comments.
Thank you.
Yep, I take them very
Ms.
positively.
Coachman.
Yep.
Thank you. On that same note, I'm, and this may be an assumption, but some of it I've actually talked with one of the retail. I think initially they were open during events, and I mean, it's a business. So if you're not making that profit, you don't open during certain times because you don't have the money for staff. I really do think they were aware initially, but it just wasn't as profitable, maybe. And it's difficult to take the gamble and be open and just go through the same old thing. I mean, what's the definition of, and in a business sense, you wouldn't want to continue doing something that's not working. I don't know. I just feel like we should give, I know we're not doing market rate, which is probably good. That's how we have them there. But I think we should do and give some grace, though, and not just say, hey, you better be open. Then they go out of business, I think they can gauge it, I hope. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you, Mr. Perry. The chair will entertain a motion. Mr. Kramer, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Motion to approve the proposal by Holly Kim of Left Coast Soul to rent the City Center garage retail space. They'll be available July 1st, 2025.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second by Vice Mayor Kramer, a second by Councilwoman Coker. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 5.
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Mr. Perry, before we go on to the next thing.
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Moore has a question on the emergency procurement report.
Okay.
I think I heard you say, and congratulations, Ms. Ford. I'm so sorry. Names are a real stumbling block for me. No disrespect and congratulations. Also, though, as I know, Mr. Perry and Mr. Williams are probably more familiar than they ever hope to be, I am continually trying to better understand municipal finance as it compares to profit and nonprofit finance and budget considerations. So right after, or when we were facing the storms, I was speaking with a city commissioner from the city of Northport, and she was relaying to me their experience with Hurricane Ian. And I think that you're absolutely right that there is going to be more recovery time than people really realize. For them, it took a couple of years, but they were very fortunate that they had reserves sufficient to weather that process. So just moving forward, as we're 6 months from post 24 season, that was really horrible for us, but we're also something like 4 months pre storm season 25, and
6 weeks.
Is it 6 weeks? Oh, God. I'm not ready. Do you feel like we have sufficiently planned, now that we're in budget season? I want us to make sure, and I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but I feel like it needs to be said that, just for the benefit of everyone to understand that and appreciate that as we go through this budget season, we're taking consideration to maybe replenish what we had to use, considering it's gonna take us a few years to even get maybe whatever it was, 80% is maybe best case scenario that we're even going to get. So I just wanna make sure that we're continually replenishing whatever we feel like we need to stockpile.
That's a really good question. It truly is. We're still trying to square things up on what we have recovered, what we may recover, when we may recover it, and the like. I think the subject and the answers to some of those questions will probably be better left to the upcoming budget cycle. As you may be aware, I think you are, the city has a restrictive $4 million reserve for catastrophe and hurricanes, basically. And we have to look basically at where the funding had come from for some of those operations that we have done and the expenses related to them, and really look at, when we close out the books, the accounting from this year, what the fund balances are going to be and how to basically cushion some of those fund balances so there is adequate reserves. We're well positioned across the board with different types of reserves, but it may be something that we want to look at to dedicate. How do we build up that $4 million if there's a deficiency there, or if we've used it or something along those lines? I can't really answer that right now, and I truly apologize why I can't, and I don't expect that my folks could either. We could give you a little bit more information here, a little bit more information there, but it's such a dynamic situation going on with the FEMA reimbursement that relates to it and other types of reimbursement. When we talk also about reimbursement, you know, we have property insurance, and so that property insurance is, if you're insured, FEMA doesn't cover it. What FEMA will cover is the deductible, and so there's a lot of still unsettled questions about that, and I'd be doing nothing more than throwing a dart and probably talking speculatively if I was to try to answer it. But I will tell you that we will be able to, we will have more information by the time budget rolls around, and I think we need to raise that issue at budget time.
Great, I think that's appropriate.
Yep.
Thanks.
Mrs. Coker.
Yeah, I just want to comment because I think this is probably a much bigger, longer conversation, and I agree with you. It is, thank goodness we have the talent here to address all this and keep an eye on it. But I think that this will be why our Face It and Fix It is so important, because I think a lot of this has to do with the deferred maintenance on some things. And I think that the deferred maintenance was a result of probably very conservative and keeping very heavy on our reserves. So I don't want to get back to making the same mistake of the past, and I like the idea of us going forward aggressively with our Face It and Fix It and get it as quickly as possible. That's all.
It's interesting, that comment, and it rings true very much so, to the extent of when you look at the impact of these storms on our infrastructure, and particularly in our utility infrastructure area, and Irv's here and his team and the like, sometimes grave opportunity comes from grave circumstances. We've heard that adage, and really there's funding coming into the state and the region that's related to these storms. Our new contractor with Woodward Curran, WC, has a fiscal solutions team that we've been meeting with. Mira and I are going up to Tallahassee, we're gonna meet with them. We're also meeting with DEP. We're meeting with some other folks as relates to some funding opportunities. But the Woodward Curran, $1.6 billion is coming into Florida. That's a lot of money. And it's for resiliency in a number of categories. Stormwater, yep, we need improvements for that infrastructure. Wastewater, oh yeah, both collection and treatment. Face it and fix it. Potable water, Evans Reservoir, alternative source, as you look for longer types of thing, resiliency. So those types of opportunities that really probably wouldn't have been available absent the storm may actually become beneficial and supportive of us. We got off a call yesterday with some folks that do special type of financing for all that stuff, and when you look at doing something that could be $100 million upgrade project, That's a lot of money, right? $100 million when you think about it, city size of Bradenton. Usually, there's not just one single funding source. But if you can defray some of the funding from that to 20 million from this source and 15 million from that source and an SRF loan from that source, all of a sudden you've got what Councilwoman Moore had asked for when she first came in, and I think everybody else has too, a strategic plan. Because a strategic plan isn't just about what you need. It has to be about what you can do, when you can do it, and how is it you can do it. Because you can't do it all on the back of a rate, generally speaking, for utilities. It's very difficult to do it on the back of a rate. And the political implications are difficult, if nothing else. So there might be some pretty good opportunity as we as a team look forward to handle this, face it, and fix it across the board. I know Ebbs Reservoir, we have two 24-inch lines that come through there, and they got to go 7 miles from State Road 70 into the city of Bradenton. We need more redundancy, and that's a surface water source. We don't have alternative groundwater as it relates to deep water wells like they do out in the Duet Fields for the county. There's a lot to be talked about, but some of this funding looks very promising. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the couple of the important things talking about this is we've got to make sure that we're not going out individually and saying things that are going to maybe hurt long term. One of the reasons I think that going to Tallahassee at this point is going to be important is because we are meeting with the governor and the governor's office, confirmed that last night, that I want him to know that City of Bradenton is on board. City of Bradenton needs his help. He was here 3 times in the City of Bradenton during those storms, and some of the things that we did that really, and he mentioned on TV that Bradenton got some of that storm debris. And I think, especially in that neighborhood in Ward 4, that Sunday morning when we showed up, it wasn't just about picking up debris. It was about telling people that we cared. And I want to continue that. And I think that's what the governor saw. And so we are going to have some asks to him. But we have about $8 million, I believe, in ask in the legislative session now that we want to make sure that he understands that, it's important to us little by little, but it's also, we're going to be bringing some things to this council soon that may be helping us speed up our face it and fix it. We know money doesn't make it go faster, but it can make it get planned and get moving at least. And government works slow. And again, I agree with strategic plans, but sometimes you can strategic plan something to death that takes too long to get it done. We got to keep working while trying to have strategic plan in order, but our strategic plan is every day and, how the next step is going to happen. And one of the things that we did with Woodward and Curran is that next strategic plan. And that is very important when we look at what are we going to do, and I say we as a council up here, to make it better from today than it was yesterday and then tomorrow. And again, I go back to the gentleman that asked me the question. If you had all the money in the world that you needed right now in your pocket, it would still probably take about the same amount of time. But another important part of that is, how do we get that money in our pocket? And I think legislatively we can keep asking, but Mr. Perry, you and I and others met with state representative, and I ask you the question, if we don't get the money from the state this year, are those projects still going to happen? And you said yes, because we will find the money, whether it's through the SRF or we need to come back and do something else, because we can't wait another 2 years. And that's the face it and fix it. And I think that's going to be important to go forward. Because we talk about this, the 3 of us, Mr. Williams, Mr. Perry, and I talk about this every day.
Every day.
Every day. And sometimes twice on
Right,
Saturday.
usually multiple times a day.
So, but, along with running a city, you can't just stop. And I think that's the thing that that I want the public to know, and I hope this council keeps in their pocket, that we've got to talk as one, not individually, because that goes from our wastewater to our stormwater to our drinking water to our traffic plan, and it's going to be important to keep that message going, or we can be dysfunctional like we were for that 4-year period not too long ago because one individual killed it, and I'm not going to let that happen. So, any other questions for Mr. Perry? So, moving on to item C.
Item C, City Administration, Third Amendment to the Agreement of Purchase and Sale, Tropicana Manufacturing Company. As the council knows and had previously authorized, subject to final council approval, we have engaged with Tropicana basically to purchase 32.9 acres in 2 parcels. One of them is known as the Old Trail Lot, that of course is just due southeast basically of the old Red Barn. And so in doing so, we conducted diligence. And the first 2 amendments basically dealt with extensions of time to continue the diligence period. The diligence consisted of both title, as far as the marketability of the title, that's typical when you buy real property, surveys and boundary lines and things like that, making sure there's no encroachments on it, and things of that nature. But probably most importantly was the environmental condition of the property itself. And we'd conducted what's called an EAS-1 survey. It's basically a historical look at what was on a piece of property previously and what might envision what are called reportable conditions, basically, environmentally reportable conditions. And so what that does is take a look and says, well, Tropicana purchased this property, I think it was 1942, thereabouts, and it had been used previously in certain sections as furniture manufacturing facility, and I believe it would have been the northeast corner. Most of the western flank of that large property line that goes up against the state DOT 301 road right now was farmland before 301 went in, and so it had typical types of herbicide and fertilizing and that type of agricultural chemical. Usually with those type of chemicals is arsenic and things like that. It's not a showstopper. It's pretty common on that type of property. And then there's this whole new adage in the environmental world called PFAS, and that's polychloronoyl. Travis Hearn is here, who's our environmental lawyer, and he's pretty good on the science side of things as well, since he's an environmental regulatory attorney, and I asked him to be here because I think he can speak to a couple of the issues that I'm going to refer to. So we conducted this environmental due diligence, basically. We did PFAS testing to close that out, and in the PFAS testing, there's a couple things you want to determine. You want to determine what type of amounts you have as far as concentrations of detectable PFAS. Is it above the EPA standard? Florida doesn't have a set. I think they have a recommended standard now. But Travis told me that the state of Florida, like other states, it likely will move to a concern about PFAS and things of that nature. And then direction of groundwater, underground, movement of contaminants and things like that. Again, it's typically dealt with by environmental regulatory attorneys, both transactionally as well as remedially. It brings into idea the whole notion about brownfields. That's typically what the state of Florida does, is designate as a brownfield property and provides certain types of legal protections, as well as sometimes financial opportunities to support remediation, and ultimately put usually a deed restriction on possible use. A lot of times if it's heavily polluted, you can't put things like schools, hospitals, and other types of residences on the top, but you can make parking lots out of it and things like that. So the short version is the reports we got back from Terracom that did the environmental testing did indicate some of these contaminants, both the arsenic, some PFAS. The good news is the water flow basically went back towards Tropicana itself. There are not a whole lot of housing. I don't think there's any really housing developments, either multifamily being apartments or single-family residential or anything else. Most of it's industrial land that's adjacent to the property. It's commercial and industrial land. I brought this up with Tropicana, and I said, here's the situation. You know, there's some things we're going to have to do to remediate the property likely. And to that extent, we'd like a price concession, and we'd also like to buy insurance for it, and we do intend to pursue environmental insurance. That policy we're considering right now is a 10-year policy, and it would relate to certain coverages, both for any injury caused to individuals through any sort of environmental condition, as well as pay legal fees, which could be substantial, and the like. And it's a $10 million policy, so it's a fairly high-value policy. By and large, there's a lot of different types of protections we have. We have obviously the insured blanket type protection, but we also have sovereign immunity. In talking with Mr. Robinson, who is our transactional lawyer, Will Robinson, as a government entity that a non-government entity wouldn't have. There are legal implications that come in for protections against third-party type lawsuits once the brownfield designation is sought, and Travis can talk about that. But the short version is I was able to negotiate a price concession from the $5,250,000 level to $4,850,000. So it's basically $350,000 reduction that is being proposed in this final amendment. The other thing that's important about it is it would close within, is it 15 or 30 days, Corey? By May 15th, it would require closing, and we would basically be using mostly utility reserves, because Public Works utility would be relocating out there. It'd be an apportionment. There would probably be some general reserve, but it's an allocation, because a lot of Public Works is enterprise, and so that's the funding source for it. Ultimately, what it does, it gives us these 32 acres to use for city facilities. We have Robin and Greg and their team at planning looking at annexing the property into the city. It is adjacent to the property, and so would meet that criteria. Some of the conversations I've had with some of the administrative staff said that at the county, they didn't think there'd be problems with that. Ultimately, there's, through the political and legal process, some approvals that would be needed for that. But I think that as a location goes for our industrial efforts through Public Works, and I'm talking about sanitation, I'm talking about facility maintenance, I'm talking about, you know, all the different things that Public Works does for bulk storage and all the other difficult things that their multitude of divisions occur. This is an ideal location. And there aren't a whole lot of other locations that I like as far as anything of that size. And it's also centrally located. There's other opportunities on the site to do other things as well.
In collaboration with the county.
In collaboration with other partners, including the county. Absolutely. Affordable housing may be something we're looking at. Yeah, because it's a pretty sizable site. And so it kind of represents the future of about half the city, you know, when you look at the city's operational sphere, and Public Works and the work they do is probably.
And it takes it out of your central core, that if somebody comes down to a baseball game, they're not looking at garbage trucks.
Absolutely.
You know, they're not looking, not that that was bad at the moment.
Yeah.
It was the right place, right time, but now it's an opportunity. And probably the biggest thing to me is that location. Whatever happened with the luck of that location, it keeps our staff from having to travel. Because at one point there was talked about out towards the golf course area that we have.
Yeah,
Think about the transportation that would have really added miles, where this really is a little bit more central even.
It is centrally
And it's on a main thoroughfare that you can get in and out of.
Absolutely.
And we actually have access next to the flea market. Or is that the right terminology for it today?
Yeah.
Yeah, still flea
It's
market.
Red Barn Flea Market.
Red Barn Flea Market, you know, but has an access along the railroad track, so we're not having to get on 301 to get back to closer to our city. So there's a lot of opportunity there that could be a win-win, and obviously location.
That's a short version. Mr. Hearn is here if you'd like to have him stand for any environmental
Ms.
question.
Moore has a question.
Okay.
And it could go to either
Travis, you
one
wanna come up?
if you want to. So great, you know, I'm obviously happy at the work and the effort at the price reduction. do we have confidence that the designation of the brownfield will, are we operating still at a net benefit to the extent that we have to remediate, particularly in light of the collaboration potential for affordable housing? Because the brownfield, that's one of the categories of problematic environmental problems is residents.
I'm gonna let Travis give a shot at it. I mean, talking with Travis, he said you're probably gonna have to remediate. There might be some funding.
I would
available.
imagine.
In certain areas, some of it doesn't have contamination, some of it does.
And
But
that's
we
what,
take it from there.
sure, that's one thing about the brownfield
Just state
program
your
is.
name for the
Yeah,
record.
sorry,
Thanks.
Travis Hearn, I'm an environmental attorney representing the city. The best thing about brownfields is that it gives you, one of the big things brownfields gives you is a lot of financial assistance toward the cleanup. So basically, you get half of your costs each year, up to $500,000 each year, and then at the end, you can get an additional 25% of all your cumulative costs, up to another $500,000. So there's a lot of money available in brownfields to kind of alleviate the cost of those cleanups. So that's kind of a big piece, bringing the financial picture more in favor for the city. It goes a long way, it really does.
And it's not the whole property, isn't it?
Well, the way the environmental cleanup works is it's a DEP thing. That they'll have to look at, make sure everything is in the property. We've done as much as we can in due diligence, conventional kind of routine due diligence processes. But that's kind of part of the process. Is kind of fine tuning where it all is. That'll be part of something that will be done in the future once the site's in brownfields and the cleanup has begun.
We can proceed though without having to do this first.
No, that's correct. Yeah, there's no. And another thing too is another thing just to clarify is the environmental cleanup is the statutes and rules that govern it are designed to be flexible around development. So that's another good thing. You can kind of make a development plan and then kind of fine tune your cleanup plan around that plan so it won't stop development or delay development or anything like that.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, so the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Approved. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Coachman.
motion to, whoa, let's see if I got the right thing. Thank you. Motion to approve the third amendment to the agreement for purchase and sale for the purchase price. Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Ms. Barnaby. So we have a motion by Ms. Coachman and a second by Ms. Barnaby, and we've had discussion. Start the vote in Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Approved. Thank you very much, and that is a huge strategic plan going forward to really start the process that we've already started, but it was just a logistical thing getting it done. And I'd like to thank Mr. Perry, Mr. Hearn, all the staff on the many, 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 many meetings that you sat in on, that I would sneak in for a few minutes and listen.
Right.
But, and then it got boring because it was just logistical stuff.
Yeah, that's what happens, those meetings.
But it was great.
Those are the
to-
important things.
Right, the important things, and I say that with the way that it took a lot. And I'd like to thank Tropicana for working with us in the way that they did. And obviously, Solis started it out. He's moved back on to, I think, into his cosmetic field where he came from. So we're excited to see him go, but dealing with Mr. Walters now, that's the CEO, and thank their whole staff for helping things move forward and
Yep, their
getting
Chief
this done.
Financial Officer,
Yeah,
Matt
Murray, right.
Did a really good job for us.
Yep.
Yep.
No, and they're a great partner, not only in the city for a lot of years, some family members by marriage were great partners in Tropicana and Mr. Rossi, but overall now they're still great partners that they're kind of back.
Yep, it'd be nice to be a neighbor of theirs and obviously a tenant as well.
Yep.
Speaking of which, we will be bringing a tour, council's trying to schedule a tour over to our Public Works Administrative Building that Director Lee has done a nice job with his team of establishing. If you haven't been over there, it's a really nice facility.
I think the reason they delayed the tour is because they wanted to have it fixed up nice and pretty, and it wasn't ready yet.
That's exactly
when we popped in one day, and it was like, wait, you can't come in. I loved her when she said, you can't come in. She wasn't telling us we couldn't, but she said, I want to get it all fixed up and all the pictures on the wall. And I mean, I think that is a great facility that as we go forward, we may reevaluate how we do it and what they do, because whenever you're looking at anything from a cost perspective, to build right now is very expensive.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, for sure. Final matter, Corey, new employee. Want to stand up? Well, Robin, do you want to introduce? Corey, new planner.
Come up forward to the microphone.
I got you on the spot, huh? Welcome. It's your first week. All right, Robin can introduce Corey. He's a new planner with us. Yep.
Yes, this is our new city planner, Corey Holdacross, and he comes to us at St. Pete Beach, and Newport Richey also has a real estate background. So that's important for us. I don't know if you want to just say hello.
Good morning. My name is Corey Holycross. Just wanted to say I'm very excited and thankful for the opportunity here. Everyone's been extremely welcoming. I haven't met anyone who isn't smiling, so that says something good about working here. The drive over isn't bad. I'm coming from St. Pete, so always good to pop in here. And I love the way the city is growing, so I hope to see it continue to go in the right direction, and I've enjoyed my time here thus far.
Good. Welcome aboard. We
Welcome.
appreciate you being here. Thank you. All right, anything else, Mr. Perry?
Nothing from the administration, sir.
Not-
Thank
No
you
one,
and the
no
council for the time.
unfinished business? No, all right. Council report, we'll start in 3.
Oh, all right. Caught me off guard.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Perry, I noticed you gave all the cubic yards and all that. Did you have a number for the cubic yards hauled away by the mayor and his wife? And I'm serious. I'm not, crazy serious, but I'm serious because that I would dare say was in the tens of thousands, easily.
And he's still doing it.
I think it would be broken down into like the trailer he did, his truck bed, other equipment that he used. Some of it that had to be fixed after it, but he did a great job. There's him and Gina just, I mean, talk about leadership, they're on Front Street, and I think it would, both our team and the community recognize that, and that we do have a certainly engaged mayor, no doubt about it, good leader.
We have a great team at Solid Waste, Public Works, and they're the ones that drive the positiveness through our city, and it's just fun to see. And I think one thing that I'm excited about at our workshop next week is to talk about some opportunities to even make, that department better while even enhancing what they do and what we can do collaboratively as a city. So if you're out there watching, come to our workshop, because it's not recorded, but it's recorded, but it's not videoed, next Wednesday.
Okay, back to me. All right.
Not about you. No, not about me.
No. Thank you to Cindy Pino and the board of the Courtyard Square neighborhood. They had me out to their board meeting last Thursday. A couple years ago when I met with them, they were very interested in getting sidewalks out in front of their and I said I'd work on it on 26th Street, and then found out quickly that 26th Street wasn't ours. And then I had a conversation with then Commissioner Van Ostenbridge, who said, well, we're working on it. And now it's pretty much done right in front of their place. So they're very happy. I told them I had nothing to do with it. So, but they also pointed out some other things in neighborhoods surrounding them that they drive through that I passed on to Public Works, and they're working on it now. So I appreciate the work they've put in. Tonight is the graduation of the 41st class of Leadership Manatee. I am rolling off the Board of Governors this year, but it's been an honor to be with them. Captain Brian Thiers is the only city representative on in the class this year. I'm very happy he's going to be graduating. It's one thing that I would like all department heads to sort of take a look at your staffs and see if there's anyone from your staff you think should be part of the Leadership Manatee program. I can say that the county, I believe this year had, out of the class of, I believe it was initially 44, had 8 representatives countywide. And I think we should certainly have at least 1 or 2. So please, if you can look at your staff. Applications are out now, but they need them back, I think, by sometime in early May. So if you can please take a look at that. And I think that's it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Ward 4.
I know we already touched on the Lift Station 3 collection system team, but I think that it is worth mentioning, piggybacking on our previous conversation, that I just want to thank the team, because I'm aware that everyone is really putting in a lot of effort. And, I know that, you're in the background, sort of. not to me, but, you know, to the public. They don't see the hours that you're putting in, and Ms. Clayback is not here, but I just want to, I feel like it's important to acknowledge the work that not only Ms. Clayback and her team, but also the communications team, you know, one city, one team. And I just want everyone to know that I appreciate that effort for something that is so close to home for me. I also am super pleased to let you all know that Colonel Lee and I have been able to plan our meeting regarding the Bradenton Castle Park canal clearing situation. I don't really even know what else to call it. I have heard from many residents on both sides of that canal because of the upcoming storm season and their concerns about the inability of that canal to drain, particularly in light of the county's efforts to clear canals being kind of out there in the public. So I've been receiving a lot of questions about that, and I'm very happy to hear that we're going to get that process started. I think we have to have a sense of urgency, even if it is going to take a long time, and it's going to be, you know, no one said facing and fixing it was going to be easy, but that's what we do every day, right? And then, I'm not positive if we have another meeting before that, so I think it's also worth saying that I think most of you already know, but just in case you don't, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council is having their summit in early May. The date is escaping me, but I can let you all know, or Mr. Perry can share that information if he has not already. We are being honored for a regional award by the council for our development of a process for emergency management, and the system that staff has put in place really kind of under fire with the storm season. And so I feel like
May 16th.
May 16th, so we probably have a
We
meeting
have
before
one
then, but
another
I wasn't
14th,
sure,
right,
so I
yeah.
felt like I wanted to just
Yeah, no,
let
that's
everyone
good.
know that that is very exciting, and I'm proud of us, so.
Good, no,
that's it
great
for me
job.
for now.
One thing that I just want to bring up with the lift station too, and what a great job our staff does, but I think it's something that we've talked administratively that, and I know Mr. Perry's not in the room, but that it may be, they're looking at different ways also to possibly bring on a project manager that will actually be able to run that project day to day, so there is no, you know, because as great as our staff does, they still have a whole city. So if we can bring on a project manager, and we talked about that the other day, to make the project go quicker, more information, and that. So that is something that,
That's wonderful.
that's
That's exactly why I would like
right,
to start
right,
meeting regularly
right,
with the team, so
right,
that I can also,
right.
you know, not that I need to announce it from the rooftop, but,
right.
you know, if people are asking me, you know,
Right.
if they
No,
have
there's-
questions about it.
There's, because again, it wouldn't be on the, where we're at if we didn't face it and fix it and want to do it, so. But like I said, we just got to keep that. One of the things I think is going to be important, and I was talking with our PIO and staff and all of that, and some of her past experiences in areas that we really got to be one city, one team, and do that together.
Sure.
So that's going to be important to keep, you know, that would be our, what's the word I'm looking for? That's our conduit to keep it going out, to make sure that they're not, because again, we know how social media, something gets on it, and not even us, somebody else throws something, and then it's like it's true.
Sure.
And that's going to be important, so. All right. Huh?
Or the real media.
Or the real, is there real media anymore? So you got a little laugh on that, so maybe I shouldn't have said it. but- all
Bolts
right.
News at Lee Meadow.
4 to 5.
All right, thank you. Kind of just to touch on, there was mentioning about working with the county, and one city, one county is also the way it seems, and hopefully it'll stay that way. I've actually had some experience throughout the years where there's a citizen that thinks they're in the city limits, but they're actually in the county. And recently there was a area where there were a shrubbery or something that was blocking view when you're at the stop sign, and we were playing ping pong because the county said to the person, nope, that's the city. And the city was saying, nope, that's the county. But in those instances, I've always seen in my history with council that it gets done, you know, one way or the other, it does get done. I wanted to make a comment about our citizen comments. In the last few meetings, it has been almost pleasurable to hear citizen comments. And I don't mean to say that sometimes it's not pleasurable, because we take the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we welcome that. But it has just been so nice to have people address, like this morning, to address us, appropriately, so that we could listen to them, not just hear what they're, shouting or saying. And I really wanted to make comment about that. It was great to recognize our law enforcement for Police Week. I have often said I get to see them work up close and personal a lot, and fire. I get to see them a lot. I am to the point I can tell you which agency the siren is, because I'm on near First Street, so I know when it's fire. Fire and EMS kind of sound the same, but the fire trucks are different. I know when it's not a fire truck, and I know when it's the sheriff, and I know when it's BPD. And I hear BPD a lot. I look down 11th Avenue, it's perpendicular to my street, and I'll wait sometimes to watch to confirm if I was right, and I'll see red go by or blue. Every now and then I'll see a BPD red and blue traveling down First Street or 301. However, most of the times I hear them going from east to west, because that's been keeping us hopping. But anyway, it's just great that we are acknowledging them. It's so much talking about some things are not seen. We don't really get to know every aspect of what they have to go through. We get watch commander reports here and there, and I hope you're not thinking that those are the only calls they get, because that's not the case. But I thank you all. Keeps me safe. I like that. I sleep better. There were several events in Ward 5, but I'll let the mayor speak to it, because you probably, he's everywhere. And oftentimes I miss them. I know Keep Manatee Beautiful did something wonderful, in the area. I did hear that they even went out in the neighborhood streets and picked up trash. And thanks to BPD, keeping an eye out for them, because that is one very hotbed for crime. So I'm glad that everything went well. And there's so many things that have been brought to our attention from citizens as of recent. There's a median between Manatee Avenue and 6th Ave, 3rd Street. And it's been a mess for years, but the citizen wanted to bring to our attention we need to work on it, and we're moving towards that. Anytime a citizen calls and brings something to our attention in Ward 5, the city period, but I just want to say to Ward, I hope Ward 5 is listening. Things are being done, and it's not slow to happen. It's the same for every ward. I get a little disappointed when I hear someone say, well, they're not going to do it because it's Ward 5. It's going to take forever, and it doesn't. It's done the next day. I guess I'm going to stop there, because there was something I was going to probably talk about, but I might get emotional, so I won't do that. Ward 5 is alive.
All right, Ward 1.
Thank you. I'm sure everyone knows at this point the Roman Catholic Church lost a treasured leader this week, and I would ask all to pray for the church as they are going through the process of selecting the next pope. He truly is a world leader. Even if you're not Catholic, it'll be important to everybody. This week is probably one of my favorite weeks is the DeSoto celebration. When I am a transplant, I'll admit it. I've been here quite a while, but I fell in love with this city because of the DeSoto parade, and you would see the chairs getting put out on the sidewalk the week in advance, and it just, to me, just shows that down home, friendly city that we are. And I always loved bringing my kids to the parade and the celebrations that would go along the street. And so to me, the DeSoto parade just harkens a lot of memories of raising my kids here, and I hope everybody else finds that joy. But behind the scenes on that, I know that there is a lot of hard work that the DeSoto organization puts into it. It's a lot of work, and I want to thank them for all their hard work. And I hope that all the residents, regardless of whether you enjoy the parade or not, will check the road closures, because it will affect your traffic on that day. But try to enjoy the celebration, because it really does celebrate our heritage and the friendly city that we are. I did have the pleasure of meeting with Village Green homeowners from Section 8, and the mayor was nice enough to come as well. I thank them for inviting me. It's always good to go and meet with them. That way they get firsthand information, and a lot of times, as Councilwoman Moore said, when they get it directly and they understand it, it just, it avoids that next door nightmare and all that. So I'm always happy when they invite me to come and speak, and I do appreciate the mayor coming. He always has lots of face it and fix it to give them as well. And I also want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and your team that are going to Tallahassee to meet with our governor. Historically, we've always been blessed with great representation up there, and it's really benefited our community a lot. And so I'm glad to know that you'll be up there giving him firsthand account from the local city of Bradenton leadership that we support all his efforts, and thank him for all that he's done to meet the challenges that we've all had to face, from COVID to the storms and things like that. So thank you for making that trip and bringing along our support for him. That's it.
Ward 2.
Get me right as I'm sneezing, so. First of all, I would like to send my congratulations, and I'm sure the entire city joins me. This month, Bell's Department Stores is celebrating their 110th anniversary. And they are family-owned and located here, started here in Bradenton, located here in Bradenton, still has their headquarters in the city of Bradenton. So we want to say thank you. Mr. Rudisil, since our last meeting, you had a birthday.
Oh.
So happy birthday, Mr. Rudisil, and we thank you for everything that you do. I, too, am looking forward to the parade and participating and having a good time with that. Need to share the passing of a longtime city employee, Joe Henry. To many people, Joe was the city of Bradenton. And now I'm getting emotional, and nobody wanted to do that. So, but Joe was, he was the salt of the earth. He was a wonderful person, and he's going to be missed. And also, many of you know of my husband and my involvement at Florida State. I'm so sorry. That was a very, very hard week last week. And one of the young ladies that was injured was in the class that my husband and I went up and taught recently. So, her name is Madison Askins. They do have a GoFundMe page for her to help with her expenses, and if you are interested in participating with that, please let me know. I can give you that information. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you. And we've got a lot of things, and we've got a lot of rivalries up here when you talk about sports and football and all of that. But when you see what happened at FSU, and we've seen it over the years in different places, but I loved one of the captions that came on the Facebook. I say the Facebook because I read it, I don't do it. but it was obviously the Seminole sitting around with it had the Miami Hurricanes, the Florida Gators, the South Florida Bulls, and Central Florida saying one team. You know, when you look at that, that's what it's about. When you're, because again, 2 people lost their lives, and unfortunately, you know, others are going to be injured forever, and that's something that we just want to pray for those families. Earth Day. Jennifer Hoffman, obviously, is our Keep Manatee Beautiful director and does such a great job at what she did. And they went over to the 13th Avenue Dream Center and really started a project there that I hope that the 13th Avenue will continue to mostly water. We'd like some rain, but, you know, you got to water.
Not Saturday, though.
Yeah, but that was last Saturday, and a great group of people from all over our county and city worked hard, and they had great representation from the 13th Avenue. Not only did they plant plants, they cleaned up, they had an Easter egg hunt, really showed sense of community, and painted the whole inside, which was great, and they're going to do some murals on the wall, as they know they have the landscaping done, and just the participation was great to see how that community came together and is recovering. I mean, you drive anywhere in our city and you see fences still down. You see things that'll take, if not months, more years to get fixed. So, all doing that. And we talk about things that we have here in town. And one of the things that's proud and you know, yeah, they're a business to a point, but METV does such a great job. And, you know, I had Charles Clapsaddle for all the years, and now you have Chris Dolan and his team that really does such a great job, not only videoing our meetings and others and doing that, but also working within the regatta, the BAM Fest, the different things that they do to support the community, because without them, we wouldn't have that in our community. People wouldn't see it, and a lot of people can't go. But when you really look at what's happening this week with DeSoto, you know, people are willing to be patient, I hope, because it's happened for, you know, a lot of years. But you look at what's happened in the city of Bradenton over the last, you know, couple of months. Like I said, with the regatta really starting it out, you know, the great fireworks on New Year's Eve and working with that event, going right down through it and adjusting, changing, doing things. And it's really exciting to see that it's out there, information-wise. I tell people, you know, and one of the things with our shops even was thinking about it. Most of our events get put on our Facebook. So, you know, the PIO and all the group does a great job, but they got to look at it. And when you see something in the police department that'll get 1 million+ hits, we need to get that in the city too. So that's how it's working. I mean, I don't know if police are good or bad, and people like to look at it more, but it gets a lot of hits compared to things, and that's something I'm hoping that we can grow in the city as well and working together. Excited about the Tropicana property. I think that's something that is really taking a step forward for us that, you know, is something we looked at, because without that, City Park doesn't happen. Without that, the community center over there to help Rogers Gardens doesn't happen. So everything is falling into place in some of those ways. Without that, Village of the Arts doesn't have an opportunity. I was at a group yesterday, kind of investment realtors. There was mortgage brokers, there was different things, about 45 people I gave a talk to. And one of the things that one of the ladies said is, how is my child going to buy, or my kid, she was saying her children, but in their 20s and 25s, and I've heard others say that, going to buy? You know, well, one of the things that to buy a house now, it's tough. But you know what? We have some blank slates in areas that could be fixed up. But would you drive down 9th or 14th at a time and want to be there? But we're going to talk about homeless and some structure things that are going on with Salvation Army and Turning Points and the county next week at our workshop. And with some of those fixes that we can do in a strategic plan that's been working for that, if we've got opportunity to help others, I think it can help those neighborhoods that will then give those homes opportunity to say, hey, I will buy a home there. And it might be in a more reasonable rate. You know, one of the things that was brought up about mortgage rates, you know, 6%, you know, one of the ladies goes, well, I was able to get somebody at 6% the last week. I got up and I said, when I was 8 years old and my mom and dad started our family business in 1975, I remember riding to the bank to make the mortgage payment with my dad, because every day it was due, he has his little passbook still in his desk drawer there, but it was 21%. So you think about it, and you had to wait hours in line to get gas. So, again, I say a lot. It's not about what politically you believe, this or that. It's about how you work within a community in your heart and what we're going to do. And every one of us up here that I know, I feel that you all have the right heart. Now it's how do we get there in different ways to make sure that we're supporting the citizens and supporting that next generation. So I think that's important to continue, because there's going to be battles, there's going to be times, there's going to be delays on projects, but there's, I don't think any of us up here feel that we're not going to try to push that envelope. So a couple other things that I don't even think Mr. Perry knows. I haven't walked in his office in the morning and given them to him yet, and Mr. Williams, but there's going to be a couple things I'm going to challenge this council in the next couple of months that, you know, are going to say, what are we going to do to make it quicker? How are we going to fix these projects? Whether it is, like we said, Mr. Perry, you were out of the room, but I did mention, if you heard it or not, but I did mention that we might want to hire a project manager for over on the east side in Ward 4, because we've got a great group of people. And Saturday afternoon, when I was out with Mrs. Clyback and Mr. Keys, because of another DOT contractor making a mistake in our city that would have gridlocked our city more Monday morning, that I just happened to see driving by, you know, they work hard. But we need to get the bandwidth so some of that stuff will happen. Again, we know we don't want to add more layers, but if you don't have enough to get things done, then we're still spinning our wheels. So just some of that, you know, I can go on forever, as you know, but it's about what we can do to make it better tomorrow and better than yesterday. So thank you. Department heads, anything? And you go, Chief?
I did want to mention, because I know my administrative assistant is listening to this meeting, that today is Administrative Assistant Day, and I usually broaden that to all those who do everything they can so that those of us sitting up here do well and look well. And so to Elba personally, thank you, and to the rest of the folks over at BPD, we appreciate who you are and what you do.
All right, thank you, Chief. And I'll echo that for all the administrative assistants we have in the city, and we have a great administrative assistant sitting up here amongst the six of us that takes care of us and gets things done, or maybe two, but, you know, sometimes we have good people that help, but great job. I'm talking about up here.
Ditto.
Two of them, so thank you for what you do and remind us of things. A hallmark moment. Anything else? All right, hearing none, we'll be adjourned. Thank you.